So I run mostly as a way to stay fit. So for me, running marathons or running half marathons it's hard enough that I have to train for it. I always like to run outside. I hate running indoors. I'll only do it if I absolutely have to. Running ends up being a lot of kind of meditation time / nature appreciation. You get into the state of mind where these ideas can kind of flow. You are more operating at your subconscious level. The stretch goal, the dream for me would be to be an astronaut. But in order to do that, you have to be highly educated, you have to take care of yourself, you have to be physically fit. So a lot of these goals and focuses are all kind of around that. I'm Carrie Ann Hobbs, and I work at the Air Force Research Lab in the Autonomous Controls branch. My job is to design and evaluate autonomous and automatic control systems on aircraft. So part of what I do is look at what are the hazards associated, how do we make sure that the system is going to be safe, secure, how do we verify it. So a lot of what I work on is collision avoidance systems, automatic collision avoidance systems for aircraft and spacecraft designs. And what these systems do is that they detect when a collision between an aircraft and the ground or two aircraft is about to happen, and it automatically maneuvers without the pilot having to do anything to avoid the collision. And we're really looking to see how can we design these in a way that we can prove is safe, and then we can use tests to basically show that our math and our proofs are correct. AutoGCAS has been credited with saving the lives of 8 pilots since it's been on the jets, since 2014. And now it's in the process of deploying on the F-35. So one of the cases that I'm looking at right now where there's going to be a lot of autonomy going on board is there's interest in doing satellite servicing. So this is the idea that your satellite ran out of fuel, so it's out of gas, and it's sitting up there and it can't maneuver anymore, or something broke, and you want to send another satellite up to go and fix it. But one of the concerns with this is what happens if you accidentally collide. So I'm looking at, can I take some of the lessons learned from the automatic ground and air collision avoidance system and use that to design the system for spacecraft to be able to detect that maybe you're maneuvering too aggressively, or even a human on the ground to decide we want to abort this rendezvous maneuver, and they can essentially pick a set of maneuvers to maneuver away. So I grew up in Houston, Texas, and the Johnson Space Center has this Space Center Houston that's there. It's kind of this public museum. And when I was 6 years old, my family went to the Space Center, and I decided that day that this was probably the coolest thing that I could imagine, and I wanted to one day grow up and work on spacecraft and aircraft and be on the cutting edge of technology in aerospace. And my mom, I think, initially she thought I was a little bit strange because I was always bringing back all the science books from the library, and at one point she asked my teacher to help me find where the Berenstain Bears and those kinds of picture books were. And I came home so angry. I said, "Mom, I can read these books, sure, but they're boring. I want to learn. I want these science books." And she said, "Okay." My dad actually got to go with me to the Collier Award dinner, where AutoGCAS was recognized as kind of this top achievement in aerospace for the year. And it was cool because it was the first time he really got to see me in this environment. And to share that with my dad was very special. So the Barbie collection started when I was actually in college, and my dad asked what I wanted for Christmas, and my sense of humor came out, and I said, "I want astronaut Barbie." I had no idea if there even was such a thing. It just sounded like it would be funny. But sure enough, my dad went out and found it on eBay that they had one from the 25th anniversary of Apollo. It comes with moon rocks. And that kind of started it. I actually proudly displayed them in my dorm room while I was studying for aerospace engineering in college. The Rocket Science Barbie Instagram actually kind of started because I was studying for my qualifying exams, and I decided to make it fun by trying to make the notes that I was taking and the practice problems that I did they looked almost artistic. And so one day I sat in the library at Georgia Tech, and I tried to put everything that I knew about basically stability longitudinal stability of an aircraft. All the equations, all the variables, drew the whole diagram on this board, and I had people walking by taking pictures of it. And I thought, this is kind of cool, and how can I do something with this? So I started doing some outreach, and I call it Rocket Science Barbie on Instagram. When I walk into a room, people don't expect me to be an engineer. I walked up to this major aerospace company at a career fair, and I said, "Hi, I'm Carrie Hobbs, and I'm very interested in internship opportunities for the summer." And the first thing that they said is, "Well, we're really only looking for engineers." And I was like, "Oh, well, you know, I am an engineer. I'm an aerospace engineer, student at least." And then the next thing they told me was, "You have to have at least a 3.0 GPA." And I said, "I have a 3.75. Would you like to see my resume?" And I was just kind of taken aback because I had not really experienced that before. And there's other times too where I'll be going to a meeting and people will ask me if I'm lost and if I'm trying to look for contracting or finance. And I think it's just that it's just rare to see women, and so sometimes they expect that you maybe are in the meeting for a different reason. Somebody actually said to me when I started, you should wear, you know, pants every day, wear dark, you know, blues, blacks, earth tones, try to blend in. You don't want to stand out because you want people to take you seriously. Well, for initially I kind of did that, and I said, you know what, this is silly. This isn't me, and I'm just going to be me because I think there's something unique that I can bring to this by being me as much as possible. So between the Barbies and how I dressed, I ended up with this kind of nickname, I don't know who started it, of Rocket Science Barbie. Honestly, I do experience a lot of imposter syndrome, right? That I feel like I'm working as hard as I can, and I'm constantly trying to prove that I belong, and I'm constantly afraid that somebody's gonna figure out that I don't belong here if I have one misstep. Or I feel a little bit weird when the first thing that somebody says about me is, "Oh, she has a Barbie collection," or "Oh, she's very fashionable," because I would rather them say, "She's a hell of an engineer," right? And that's what I want people to say.